would you like to clear subconscious fear blocks that are stopping you from fulfilling your full potential? Vandana will tell us how to do it. And she's a certified Usui Reiki master teacher, advanced somatic healing certified from the Alchemy Institute of Hypnosis, Access Consciousness Bars practitioner and facilitator, and medical Reiki master certification, and many more certifications as well. So tell us about subconscious fear blocks that stop entrepreneurs from achieving their full potential. How can they overcome those? Heal Podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever. Shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
Well, these subconscious fear-based programs didn't start with us. That's very important to remember. They usually were passed on to us. Any kind of trauma or anxiety, stress, any kind of blocks at all, it's basically inherited, it's epigenetically passed on to us. And so the one thing is it's not your fault. That's very important to remember. So any of these fear-based blocks, it's something that we're brought up with. We're brought up with these, we're conditioned to believe certain things that are not true, certain stories or blocks of limitations or false belief systems are passed on to us. And so it's very important to do the inner work, to, work with somebody who you feel that you can trust, that could really be a safe person and a mirror for you to actually kind of point out where you might have these blinders still, right? Because we all have them. So it's very common, especially healers generally are healers because they're wounded themselves, and they've learned over the years tools and processes and healing modalities to help themselves to really do the inner child work, right? And most of it does start in childhood or even in the womb. Like, for example, my mother had a lot of fear, and she basically projected all of her fear onto me growing up. Basically, I got the messages, direct and indirect, conscious and unconscious messages like, this world is unsafe, you can't trust anybody, it's a dog-eat-dog world, everyone's in it for themselves, and things like that. So you can imagine the burdens that I had to work on to unburden myself from growing up, and becoming a healer was really how I got my foot in the door and how I was able to clear those blocks away and become a more conscious person, right? More conscious and aware, because before I actually started becoming a Reiki master and working on myself and trying to improve, whatever flaws I felt like were blocking my happiness, I was really suffering. I was suffering a lot more because I didn't understand, and I was walking around in a state of perpetual confusion. So that's why it's so important to do this for ourselves.
Thank you. So what's the blueprint for someone who wants to eliminate fear blocks?
The blueprint, the algorithm, the solution is going to be a little bit different for everyone. And it's a question of your soul readiness. Like, how ready are you to do a deep dive? Are you to actually able to come out of denial? Right? So it's going to be a little different for everyone, but definitely having a support system, having a teacher, a mentor, a coach, a healer, or somebody that you can let your guard down, that you can really open up to and trust. That's most important, because a lot of empaths and light workers, we actually grew up in quite a dysfunctional environment. And so that led us, all of our difficult life experiences led us to become the healers that we are today. And wanting, because we were able to work on ourselves, we already know how to help other people. So it's going to look a little bit different for everyone, but even if you just join a support group, that's a perfect blueprint to get started. Just to open up, share, and feel heard, right? For your life experience without being judged.
Thank you. Is there anything entrepreneurs can do in terms of routines or habits so that they clear those subconscious fear blocks?
I think daily meditation, whatever it is that you do, whether it's like being in nature, grounding in nature, exercising, or, just physical activity to move the stuck energy. I think that that's the most important thing, and to really get out of the house and away from your computer. But yeah, there are many, many ways that I was able to help myself, but sometimes it just takes simply taking a different direction, making a different step, right? Doing something completely different and taking a risk, right? And seeing that you're not going to fall, you're not going to fail, you're just going to be in a different place. But the familiarity, this is the hard part, to break out of those habits, right? Especially for entrepreneurs. I know for me, I was very comfortable in my misery. I was very comfortable working for other people, having very difficult, abusive, and toxic bosses, breathing down my neck, never feeling fulfilled, always feeling overqualified and underserved at all of the jobs, all of the positions that I held in the corporate world. And then one day, the voices, the whispers of my soul just became louder and louder. And then I just decided to go for it, got a scholarship. I took a year's worth of advanced Reiki master courses, became a Reiki master teacher. And that was the beginning of everything, where I actually took the plunge, quit my 9 to 5, and I finally was able to discover all of these dormant gifts that I never knew I had before. So that was the best thing I've ever done for myself. But it does take a lot of courage, and also to have a support system, even if it's a family member, to hold you, because I don't recommend it for everyone, but I just had it, and I was done with these really boring and unfulfilling jobs that I had. And I would go from one to another. I was never able to find my place, find my happy place. So until I took the plunge. But I recommend people that want to work for themselves and want to experience that freedom of making your own hours and not having to answer to anyone but yourself, I recommend just maybe doing it part-time, taking some courses, educating yourself, seeing what's out there and seeing what you love to do, what will really bring you the greatest joy. And then gradually you can kind of move over, you can kind of pivot. But I wouldn't do it all at once, because not everybody will be able to handle it. I was somehow able to handle it. I don't know how, but I did. And I'm very grateful for that part of me, that resilient part of me that said, no, this is not working. You need to do what you came here to do, what you were born to do, is to help people find themselves.
Thank you. For me, I remember I used to have really low confidence and low self-worth. And
yeah,
I used to feel very doubtful. And, I used to experience a lot of self-doubt, self-sabotage. And generally, I was fearful of people. And I think the thing that actually made a big difference is actually general shifts in energy. So, for example, I found that, talking therapy didn't help so much. But let's say going dancing, for example, where I was shifting my energy, that would have a dramatically enhanced effect, where I suddenly felt confident and I was feeling great, and I had this dopamine and rush. Mm-hmm. I was feeling gorgeous, and I was feeling smart, and it's other times I felt incredibly fearful, and I couldn't understand how sometimes mm-hmm. I was doing a lot of exercise and I would raise my energy, I would feel really incredible. And then at other times I was so full of doubt and so fearful, and I would hesitate to take certain actions that I knew were important to take in order to thrive.
Yes.
So how does someone elevate their energy and maybe do certain steps to be in mm-hmm. that powerful frequency, rather than feeling that self-doubt and fear and
yeah, coming out of isolation is everything, and that is, everyone's different. Some people have had it and they're really ready to take the next step, and to even join a meetup group or, some kind of support system, maybe for new entrepreneurs or people who are just starting out working for themselves, and they're, it is scary. It is scary when your whole life you've been, hiding from your gifts and stuffing them and not being able to even express who you really are authentically. And so it is a process. Yeah, it's a process. But the main thing is get outside. Get out of the isolation and the hiding and, in front of your laptop, and all the addictions that come along with that, whether it's food or alcohol or, anything that you use to self-soothe, to self-medicate, and to just meet people who are like you, who are maybe also like finding themselves too, who are waking up, because a lot of younger people, especially a lot of millennials, are actually, questioning like this reality, like what's going on here? This doesn't seem right, like what am I really here to do? Who am I? What am I supposed to do with my life? Because obviously what I'm being shown is not working for me. And so also being in our joy, taking a break from the rut, because a lot of entrepreneurs, I think we get in a rut and we don't give ourselves, we're chained to our computers. We don't give ourselves time to actually like enjoy our lives, to do something just fun and, where we're not in our head. We're not worried about or planning what the next workshops are, or what the next projects will be, right? So I think taking the break, like you said before, just dancing even, whatever you enjoy. I love singing. I'm a singer. Do I sing often? No, I really stopped. Sometimes I remember to, but maybe in the shower. But whatever brings you joy, maybe it's traveling, maybe it's just like packing your bag and getting away for a weekend and just doing something completely different. But I think just like the more joy you're in, the more you can allow yourself and give yourself permission to experience just fun, then things automatically fall into place from the universe. And that's what I've discovered, so we all need to give ourselves that break.
Thank you. Do you find that there are certain activities that kind of like tend to boost you up, so you stay in that energetic frequency where you're not afraid of anything?
I don't know if it's realistic to say that you'll never be afraid or I'll never be afraid of anything. I think that comes and goes, but with practice, that builds our self-confidence. When we prove to ourselves again and again, like, there's really nothing to be afraid of. I survived whatever I thought was going to be terrifying and actually was the best experience of my life. Usually whatever we fear the most, whatever we have the most resistance around, is going to be the most beneficial and joyful. It's going to give us that breakthrough. We'll be able to break through the fear blocks, right? So, and for me, I love going to the beach because I live right near the beach. I have the ocean, I have the boardwalk, and it's really cool. Do I spend enough time there? Probably not. Would I like to? Yeah. Is that something that I feel that I can do? Yeah. So I think like everybody has to find their happy place, whether it's, a park, a beach, just maybe working out at the gym because of the endorphins and everything is, releasing all the fight and flight, endorphins. And that also is good. I think anything to move your energy, even if it's just take a stroll in the park or something like that. Some people run, and that's what really keeps their energy, their vibration really high. But I think it's also surrounding ourselves with high vibrational people, with safe people, with healthy people instead of toxic people, because their vibration will then rub off on us. So that's very important.
Thank you. For me, I find that the thing that also brought me a lot of confidence and less fear was actually taking really small steps and sometimes feeling occasionally courageous and then acting on that impulse of feeling courageous and then getting a good positive result from it. For example, some external validation of, let's say, I worked really hard for something and then my employer said, wow, you did an excellent job, right? So just that tiny thing empowered me so much to fear working less, so like the
Yes.
say that before I would fear that I wouldn't be good enough when I work, but after getting,
Yes.
working really hard and then getting that external validation of, yes, it was positive, it was amazing, and then
Mhm.
you did great every day, and then you have those tiny steps of acting on the impulse of courage, and then continuing with tiny steps that kind of a
Mhm.
get validated with positive reinforcement. I found that also reduced the
Yes.
fear over time as well. And I'm wondering, what kind of like small steps could someone do to reduce their fear like that? Are there any specific steps you would recommend?
Absolutely. Well, a lot of times what you were describing is what happens is we go into fear, fight, freeze, and flight, right? And it's just an automatic mechanism from our sympathetic nervous system, right? We want to override that programming by sort of stimulating our parasympathetic, which is the rest, repair, and digest, like processing what's still unprocessed. As there are ways I'm a trauma tapper as well. So what I do is I do some tapping, right? And there are certain points that I do. And then after I do the tapping, I do something called havening, which is where it really rewires our circuitry, our neurocircuitry. Also, meditation grows new neural pathways as well. So I try to just sit for 10 minutes, just breathing, just telling myself, kind of reparenting my inner child, my scared little child, and telling her it's okay, because in this moment, you're okay, you're safe, and I'm going to take care of everything for you. So you don't have to fear anymore. Because those parts of us are still unhealed. Those are the little, the fragile parts of us from when we were like 5 years old, and maybe something happened, or maybe somebody left us, or somebody died, or our parents got divorced, right? So things like this is proven for trauma survivors in countries that like war zones, for example, that just doing something like this, just brushing ourselves off, can really rewire our nervous system and recalibrate us, but also just rubbing our hands together and kind of moving our body this way, just back and forth. This is also called havening, and this is really good to calm ourselves down. It's self-soothing, right? And so I try to remember to do this as well. You ever see somebody like rub their hands like that? It's because that's how the body repairs itself. It's mostly our nervous system gets really frazzled, right? It gets really peaked. So we need to round ourselves. And there are so many ways to do that. Even just walking outside in nature and breathing some fresh air, and just like clearing our head, right? But also getting a good night's sleep. All of these things can help to regulate our nervous system, calm ourselves down. So there are steps. These are just like little steps that I've learned that I pass on to my clients as well. Yeah. So tapping is really good because it brings up a lot of buried fear that lives in our bodies.
Thank you. For those that are
Yeah.
experiencing, let's say, PTSD from having
Yes.
a certain activity that led to a negative reinforcement, whether it's, let's say, anxiety when they're coming to speak on stage, or some other fear that happens is, I don't know, for people that have been, I don't know, beaten or raped, or some, I don't know, have had like some sort of verbal, when they see it looks like the person who did
It triggers them. Yeah, it triggers the memory. Yes.
Is there anything?
I think it's most, yeah, for me, I know that when before I step into a situation that I feel might be triggering or cause me some anxiety, I always call in my guides, my spirit guides, and I call in my higher self, or whatever it is, whoever it is that you believe in, whether it's God, creator, universe, higher power, Buddha, Allah, whatever guides or guardians, like even if you weren't brought up with them, because I wasn't brought up with any kind of spirituality or even religion, or angels, right? So call in the aspect of yourself that knows best, So that for me is my higher self. And I just do a lot of deep breathing, and I do these things that I just talked to you about before. And I just kind of envision that it's going to be okay. So I envision the best possible outcome, and then I let go. I let go of all the details of how it's going to work out, what I'm going to say, and just trust that there's going to be this higher power, this immortal part of me that already knows, this intelligent part of me, this ancient part of me that knows already, like what's going to happen, what I should say, when I should talk, when I shouldn't, how to answer questions if someone interviews me, and I feel on the spot, even something like that, because I'm a guest on a lot of podcasts too. And I've learned to really turn this over to spirit and just trust my intuition, trust that I am an infinite being. This is not my first incarnation. I already know how to do this. I have all the tools, all the wisdom inside of me, right? So I think it's going to look a little different for everybody, but that's what I do. And it works. And every time I prove myself wrong, like, you see, I did it. And I'm completely elated. I feel so supported and rewarded. And then I question, why was I so afraid of that? When it was like the most elevating experience I could have, because it's a question of retraining our brain, rewiring our brain, the survival brain that still feels like everything is a threat. Anything new or different could be dangerous. So we have to override that program with our own consciousness and awareness. Yeah.
Thank you. For a long time, when I was organizing events, I often was fearful of organizing events for fear that it wouldn't go the way I wanted it, which meant that it wouldn't be perfect. And it wouldn't be perfect because I felt unsupported. Would you say that aside from calling in your guides, is there anything else that could help in terms of eliminating the fear of feeling unsupported?
Having that support system, I think it all comes back to having a strong and steady, consistent support system. Whether it's one friend, just like somebody who is on our side, on our team, whether it's a therapist, whether it's just like a family friend, whether it's your partner, whether it's your kid, whether it's your cat. We all need someone to really believe in us, even if it's one person, or maybe it's like positive feedback from a client that was very difficult and you really didn't think you could help them. And then all of a sudden you get, or maybe like 5 years after you worked with someone, and they wrote you a letter, like, I just want to tell you, like, they gave you an amazing testimony, how much you've changed my life. We don't even realize, because our words have power, like how much we actually may be helping people to get over their fear too, until maybe years later. But I think it comes back to, instead of seeking external validation that can be exhausting, eventually we come to a place, I mean, that's good in the beginning because it raises our self-esteem and our confidence, but eventually the goal is to believe in ourselves and not need the external validation, or not need to fall into the habit and the crutch of people pleasing. And I think that would be the ultimate freedom. And that's not like a linear process. It happens gradually over time. It doesn't happen all in one day. So I think it's mostly giving ourselves credit for, and looking at ourselves and, wow, I can't believe I actually did that and I survived it. And we don't give ourselves enough credit. We're always our brains are very negative focused. We're very trauma focused. We're focused on the lack or what didn't go well instead of what did go well. So I think it's just trying to be in that space more often. However, it has to happen. Yeah.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So you can find me on my website, which is vandanalighealing.com. So that's V like victory, ANDANA, lighthealing.com. You can also find me on Instagram and on LinkedIn and on Facebook. My business page on Facebook is Vandana Light Healing. My YouTube channel is also Vandana Light Healing. So you can find me anywhere and everywhere. And I also have free consultations. I offer clarity calls and aura readings and inner child mentoring. And I always have new programs every week that are live on Zoom. So, and I have a very extensive library so people can heal at home, whatever their issues are. So thank you.
And follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health change makers to live your healthiest life ever.